Imagine receiving a phone call that unravels the fabric of your family, exposes hidden betrayals, and reveals a legacy of love and foresight from beyond the grave. In that split second, as the ringtone pierces the mundane rhythm of your day, you're thrust into a journey of self-discovery, where a simple wristwatch becomes the key to unlocking not just stolen treasures, but the true value of time itself. This is the story of Amelia Chin, a tale woven from threads of loss, resilience, and redemption, a narrative that echoes through history's forgotten sacrifices and whispers timeless wisdom for our modern lives. As we dive into this inspiring saga, we'll explore the depths of human emotion, dissect advanced English idioms like time is money, meaning that time has tangible value and should not be wasted, and draw connections to English learning, where mastering language is akin to reclaiming your own narrative. Let this story grip your heart and challenge your soul, reminding you that sometimes, the most ordinary objects hold extraordinary secrets. In the bustling heart of a mid-sized American city, where the echoes of industrial booms from the early 20th century still lingered in the weathered brick buildings, Amelia Chin sat in her cubicle, poring over quarterly reports that detailed the ebb and flow of corporate finances. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late autumn, the kind where golden leaves danced outside the window like fleeting memories, and the air carried a crisp reminder of impending change. Amelia, a 28-year-old accountant with a penchant for precision inherited from her late father, was the epitome of quiet diligence, a trait that often rendered her invisible in a world that rewarded the boisterous. Her father, Samuel Chin, had been a construction worker, a man whose hands built the skeletons of skyscrapers during the post-World War II Reconstruction era, a time when America was forging its modern identity from the ashes of global conflict. Samuel's life mirrored the historical grit of the greatest generation, those who toiled through the Great Depression and wartime rationing, embodying the idiom pull yourself up by your bootstraps, meaning to improve one's situation through hard work without external help. He had immigrated from China in the 1950s, navigating the discriminatory policies of the era like the Chinese Exclusion Act's lingering shadows, yet he rose to become a respected foreman, teaching Amelia the value of perseverance. As she reviewed the spreadsheets, her mind wandered to him, to the Rolex Submariner he had bequeathed her, a watch not just of Swiss engineering precision, but a symbol of his sacrifices. Crafted in 1953, the year Rolex introduced the Submariner amid the advent of deep-sea exploration post-World War II, it represented endurance, much like Samuel's own journey through chemotherapy battles 3 years prior. The phone rang, an unknown local number flashing on the screen. Usually, Amelia would let it slip to voicemail, adhering to her cautious nature, but an inexplicable intuition, perhaps a whisper from fate, compelled her to answer. "Is this Amelia Chin?" The voice was gruff, laced with the professional detachment of someone accustomed to handling others' misfortunes. "Yes, who's calling?" "My name's Frank DeMarco. I run DeMarco's Pawn and Gold on Riverside. I believe I have something that belongs to you. A Rolex Submariner." Her heart plummeted, a visceral drop like free-falling from a construction scaffold. "That's impossible," she whispered, her fingers fumbling to open her desk drawer where she safeguarded the watch during work hours. "Empty." The void stared back, mocking her routine checks, her daily ritual of tracing the inscription, "To my daughter Amelia, may time always be on your side. Love, Dad." This watch had been Samuel's constant companion through dusty job sites, family gatherings, and even his final days, when his wrist thinned from illness, and he pressed it into her palm with a finality that shattered her world. "Ma'am, you still there?" Frank's voice pulled her back. "The watch? It's gone. I was afraid of that. Look, can you come down to the shop? There's something you need to see, and I'd rather not discuss it over the phone." Without hesitation, Amelia abandoned her reports, her hands trembling on the steering wheel as she navigated traffic. The drive was a blur of racing thoughts. How could it vanish? She had checked it yesterday, feeling its cool metal as a tether to her father's memory. Samuel had worn it through the economic booms of the 1960s, when construction surged with suburban expansion, symbolizing the American dream he chased. But now, in the shadow of her mother's remarriage to Richard 2 years after Samuel's death, and the arrival of Richard's son Tyler 18 months later, a young man with grandiose dreams and a cavalier attitude toward others' possessions. Suspicions crept in like fog over the river. DeMarco's pawn shop squatted in a rundown strip mall, flanked by a nail salon emanating acetone fumes and a check-cashing joint where hope was cashed out daily. This was the underbelly of capitalism, a remnant of the pawn industry's roots in medieval Europe, where lenders provided quick cash against valuables, evolving through America's Great Depression when such shops became lifelines for the destitute. Frank DeMarco embodied the archetype, burly, with a thick neck, wary eyes, and a gold pinky ring glinting under fluorescent lights. Yet, his gaze softened upon seeing her. "You look like him," he said simply. "Your dad, he used to come in here sometimes back in the day." Amelia's breath caught. "He did?" Construction guys always need tools. He was one of the good ones. Always paid back his loans. Never tried to pull anything. Frank vanished into the back room, emerging with a familiar leather box. "This came in yesterday. Guy said it was his to sell. But when I opened it up for inspection..." He placed it on the counter, revealing the watch, smaller, more fragile than in her memories. "Normally, I don't question sellers too hard if the merchandise looks legitimate," Frank continued. "But this watch, I knew your dad. Knew he'd never let this go. So, I did some digging in our system." The revelation hit like a hammer. Samuel had pawned it once, 15 years ago, for $3,000, precisely when Amelia started at St. Mary's Academy, a prestigious private school on scholarship, but burdened with ancillary costs. "Records show it was right around the time you started at that fancy private high school," Frank noted. Amelia's throat constricted. Her father had claimed overtime pay covered the expenses, never mentioning this sacrifice. This echoed historical tales of parental devotion, like during the Industrial Revolution when parents pawned heirlooms to educate children, breaking cycles of poverty. But Frank wasn't done. "That's when I knew something wasn't right with this sale. But that's not why I called you." He flipped the watch, pressing a concealed mechanism. The back popped open, revealing a hidden compartment, a modification reminiscent of spy gadgets from the Cold War era, when secret compartments hid microfilms. Inside, a minuscule folded paper. "I haven't read it," Frank assured. "Figured if your dad hid it that carefully, it was meant for specific eyes." Unfolding it, Amelia recognized Samuel's script. "Mia, if you're reading this, something's happened to the watch. Check the safe deposit box at First National. Box 447. The key is in my toolbox, inside the level. The watch is yours, but what's in that box is your future. Don't let anyone tell you different." Dazed, she murmured, "I need to buy it back." "How much?" Frank shook his head. The seller, a mid-20s guy named Tyler, babbling about his app startup, had taken $8,500 cash. But Frank hadn't processed the paperwork. "Technically, this transaction hasn't happened yet." "What do you mean?" "I've been in this business 30 years. I know stolen goods when I see them, even when the thief has a key to the house." He slid the watch over. "Take it. If anyone asks, it was never here." Stunned, Amelia protested, but Frank insisted, "Your dad helped me once. My kid needed surgery, and I was short on rent. He did a roofing job for me at cost, let me pay over 6 months. Man never mentioned it again. This is me settling up." Clutching the watch, Amelia's mind whirled with philosophical undertones, karma's cycle, the ancient concept from Eastern philosophies that actions return, much like in English literature's what goes around comes around, an idiom for inevitable justice. She drove home, the watches weighed a comforting anchor, pondering how history's unsung heroes, like her father, mirrored figures such as the anonymous donors during the civil rights movement, quietly funding education for the underprivileged. In the garage, amid the scent of oil and wood, Samuel's toolbox awaited, a relic from his days building during the 1970s oil crisis when materials were scarce. The Stanley level, his favorite, held the key in its bubble chamber, wrapped in plastic, a testament to his foresight. This moment evoked emotional growth, from grief-stricken daughter to empowered inheritor, learning that vulnerability isn't weakness but a gateway to strength. As she pocketed the key, Amelia reflected on modern relevance. In today's gig economy, where time is commodified via apps like Uber, reclaiming one's time is revolutionary, tying into English learning where idioms like time flies, meaning time passes quickly, urge mindful living. The journey to the bank loomed, promising revelations that would redefine her family dynamics, infused with universal wisdom, that true inheritance isn't material but the courage to claim one's destiny. What hidden compartments in your own life are waiting to be discovered, and how might unlocking them transform your path toward personal fulfillment? The First National Bank stood as a monolithic guardian of secrets in the city's downtown, its neoclassical facade a nod to the Gilded Age architecture of the late 19th century, when banks symbolized stability amid economic turmoil like the Panic of 1893. Amelia approached with the key clutched in her fist, her pulse echoing the ticking of the Rolex now back on her wrist, a rhythmic reminder of time's inexorable march. The manager, Mrs. Elena Vargas, an elderly woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that had witnessed decades of human drama, recognized her immediately. "You must be Samuel's daughter. He spoke of you often during his visits." Samuel had helped renovate this very building in the 1990s, during the tech boom's construction frenzy, his expertise in structural integrity ensuring its endurance. Safe deposit box 447 required dual keys, a protocol rooted in banking history from the 1800s to prevent fraud. As the box slid open, Amelia's breath hitched. Inside, a manila envelope, a leather-bound journal, and a handwritten letter. She unfolded the letter first, Samuel's words leaping off the page like a voice from the ether. "Mia, if you're reading this, then you found my little insurance policy. Your mother doesn't know about this box. Started it when you were born because I knew even then you were going to be special. The envelope has bonds with bearer bonds from my father, worth about $100,000 now, maybe more. The journal has all the details of the contracting business, client lists, contacts, outstanding invoices that were never collected. There's probably another $50,000 there if you want to pursue it. But here's what I really want you to know. I didn't leave you just a watch. I left you time. Time to choose your own path without worrying about money. Time to leave if you need to. Time to be yourself without apology. Your mother's a good woman, but she sees the world in terms of who deserves what based on who makes the most noise. You're always quiet like me. That doesn't make you less deserving. It makes you observant, smart, careful. Use this wisely. And remember, the watch isn't just jewelry. It's a reminder that time is the only real currency we have. Don't let anyone steal yours. All my love, Dad. P.S. If that boyfriend of yours is still around, the one who borrowed money and never paid it back, dump him. You deserve better." Laughter mingled with tears. Samuel's prescience about Marcus, dumped 6 months after his passing, was uncanny. The bonds, issued in the 1980s during Reagan-era economic policies, had accrued interest, embodying historical financial wisdom, compounding growth as a metaphor for patience. The journal, meticulously organized with entries from jobs spanning the dot-com bubble to the 2008 recession, listed debts like $15,000 from Richardson Construction, a firm that thrived while stiffing small contractors, a practice echoing corporate exploitation in Gilded Age monopolies. This discovery catalyzed Amelia's emotional evolution, from passive acceptance of her stepfamily's encroachments to assertive reclamation, mirroring literary arcs in novels like Jane Eyre, where protagonists rise through self-reliance. Vividly, she imagined Samuel penning these under lamplight, his calloused hands steady, infusing each word with philosophical depth, Stoicism's emphasis on controlling what you can, as in Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, adapted to modern life where work-life balance is eroded by digital demands. In English learning, this ties to vocabulary like bequeath, to pass down as inheritance, explained here as Samuel's act of gifting not just assets but autonomy. That evening, in a modest hotel room scented with anonymity, Amelia pored over the documents, her mind a whirlwind of plans. Hiring Diane Vasquez, a tenacious estate lawyer known for dismantling corporate evasions, felt like arming for battle. Diane's eyes gleamed at the journal. Your father kept impeccable records. This is all actionable. The bonds are clean, and these debts, they don't just disappear because someone dies. Historical parallels abounded, like the post-Civil War Reconstruction debts pursued to rebuild the South. Amelia's quest was for justice. Within weeks, the bonds cashed at $127,000, exceeding estimates due to market fluctuations reminiscent of the 1990s bull market. Diane recovered $43,000 in debts swiftly, pressuring Richardson Construction, who paid to avoid scandal, exposing patterns akin to modern gig worker exploitations. Meanwhile, confrontation brewed at home. Returning to find her mother and Richard poring over bank statements, Amelia placed the watch on the counter. Looking for this? Guilt flashed before denial. The ensuing argument peeled layers of betrayal, Richard's dismissal of theft as family sharing, her mother's favoritism toward Tyler's potential, invoking idioms like blood is thicker than water, often misinterpreted, originally meaning covenant bonds surpass family ties. Amelia's voice rose, steady. You think I don't deserve what's mine because I'm quiet? Dad saw me, really saw me. This marked profound growth, from subdued daughter to vocal advocate, philosophically aligning with existentialism's call to define one's essence through actions, as in Sartre's works. Modern relevance shone, in an era of inheritance disputes amid wealth inequality, amplified by social media's showcase of success, this story teaches English learners phrases like stand your ground, to maintain one's position firmly, urging reflection on personal boundaries. Tyler's app, Techno Solutions, crumbled, funds squandered on frivolities, a cautionary tale of startup hype in Silicon Valley's shadow economy. Richard's plea for a loan was met with silence, familial overtures via relatives, painting Amelia as ungrateful, countered with the police report. She purchased a quaint house in Samuel's childhood neighborhood, its good bones, idiom for solid foundation, evoking his building ethos. The toolbox resided in her garage, the level a talisman. Nights, the watch ticked on her nightstand, its secret compartment a portal to paternal wisdom. This chapter of reclamation underscored universal truths, time's irreplaceability, urging mindful allocation in a distracted world. How might reclaiming your stolen moments, be it from toxic relationships or unfulfilling jobs, unlock a future brimming with authentic purpose and growth? Confrontation's aftermath rippled through Amelia's life like aftershocks from a historical earthquake, such as the 1906 San Francisco quake that reshaped the city her father once helped rebuild in spirit. Moving out was a declaration of independence, echoing the American Revolution's break from tyranny, where colonists claimed their rights against overreach. Packing her belongings, 2 suitcases encapsulating a life of quiet accumulation, Amelia faced her mother's final barb. Your father would be ashamed, turning on family like this. Her retort cut deep. My father left me more than you ever knew. And the only thing he'd be ashamed of is that it took me this long to see you for what you are. Driving away, the rearview mirror framed a shrinking past, symbolizing emotional detachment, a concept in psychology akin to Buddhist non-attachment for inner peace. Settling into her new home, a modest bungalow with echoes of mid-century modernism, Amelia delved deeper into Samuel's legacy. The journal became a Bible of sorts, revealing not just debts but anecdotes, a 1980s job during the farm crisis, where he waived fees for struggling clients, embodying altruism amid Reaganomics' trickle-down failures. This inspired philosophical musings, Aristotle's golden mean, balancing self-interest with generosity, relevant today in corporate social responsibility debates. Emotionally, Amelia evolved from betrayal's bitterness to forgiveness's cusp, not for her family, but for herself, releasing resentment like shedding old skin. Vivid moments included evenings poring over Bond's history, bearer bonds, once favored in the 1970s for anonymity but phased out post 9/11 for anti-money laundering, teaching financial literacy intertwined with English terms like accrue, to accumulate over time. Diane's pursuits yielded fruits, lawsuits avoided, debts settled, mirroring historical debt recoveries like post-World War I reparations. Tyler's downfall was poetic justice. His app's failure amid a saturated market highlighted the idiom all hat and no cattle, appearing impressive but lacking substance, a lesson for aspiring entrepreneurs in the digital age. Richard's outreach for aid was rebuffed, severing ties that drained her. Relatives' judgments faded with evidence of theft, underscoring truth's power. In her new space, Amelia curated a life of intention. The watch's compartment checked ritually, affirming Samuel's protection. This fostered growth, pursuing hobbies like writing, where English idioms enriched narratives, connecting to learners worldwide who use stories to master language nuances. Modern ties emerged. In a post-pandemic world valuing work-from-home flexibility, Samuel's time as currency philosophy urges re-evaluation of life's priorities, combating burnout. Universal wisdom gleaned. Inheritance's true form is wisdom passed down, not wealth hoarded. Amelia volunteered at a local historical society, sharing tales of immigrant builders like Samuel, bridging past and present. Emotional peaks included a dream where Samuel appeared, approving her choices, dissolving lingering grief into gratitude. Philosophically, this aligned with Nietzsche's amor fati, love of fate, embracing life's trials for transformation. As seasons shifted, Amelia's confidence bloomed, attracting genuine connections free from exploitation. The story's arc taught that betrayal, while painful, forges resilience, much like steel tempered in fire, a historical metallurgy metaphor. For English learners, dissecting phrases like cut ties, to end relationships, enhances communication, fostering empathy. This chapter closed with Amelia gazing at the stars from her porch, the watch's glow a beacon, pondering time's flow. What betrayals in your life have been disguised blessings, propelling you toward a more empowered and reflective existence? Redemption's dawn broke over Amelia's horizon like the sun rising after a stormy night, reminiscent of the Renaissance's rebirth from medieval darkness, where enlightenment followed turmoil. With financial security from the bonds and recovered debts, she invested wisely, part in index funds echoing Warren Buffett's long-term strategies rooted in post-depression investing wisdom, part in personal development courses. This marked philosophical maturation, Epicurus' pursuit of simple pleasures over excess, applied to modern minimalism amid consumerist pressures. Emotionally, solitude honed self-awareness, journaling echoed Samuel's meticulousness, processing grief into growth. Vivid recollections surfaced, childhood Sundays with Dad at construction sites, learning measure twice, cut once, idiom for careful planning to avoid mistakes, now metaphor for life's decisions. Historical elements wove in, Samuel's toolbox held tools from the 1960s space race era, when precision engineering propelled Apollo missions, symbolizing human ambition. Amelia pursued outstanding invoices with Diane, uncovering a pattern of corporate neglect akin to the Enron scandal's exposures in the early 2000s. Success brought closure, funds fueling a small foundation aiding children of deceased workers, honoring Samuel's legacy. Tyler's app implosion led to his reluctant job hunt, a humbling arc paralleling prodigal son tales. Mom's attempts at reconciliation via letters went unanswered initially, but Amelia eventually responded with boundaries, fostering tentative healing. This emotional depth highlighted forgiveness as strength, not weakness, drawing from Mandela's post-apartheid reconciliation. Modern relevance. In an AI-driven world, where time-saving tools abound, the story warns against delegating personal agency, tying to English learning via idioms like seize the day, carpe diem, to make the most of the present. Universal wisdom emerged. Time's finite nature demands purposeful allocation, combating procrastination. Amelia traveled to China, tracing Samuel's roots amid ancient philosophies like Confucianism's filial piety, balancing it with self-care. Back home, the watch's secret became a meditation tool, its message a mantra. Growth culminated in writing a memoir excerpt, shared online, inspiring others. This chapter affirmed that legacies endure through actions, not artifacts. How can you harness your inherited wisdom to craft a legacy that inspires personal growth in others? As the tapestry of Amelia's life unfolded into a masterpiece of autonomy, the watch's steady tick became a symphony of reclaimed seconds, echoing through history's corridors where timepieces evolved from sundials in ancient Egypt to atomic clocks in the quantum age. Philosophical culmination arrived. Time is the ultimate equalizer, indifferent to wealth or status, as pondered by Einstein in relativity theories that bent perceptions during the 20th century. Emotionally fulfilled, Amelia mentored young professionals, sharing idioms like "time heals all wounds," meaning pain lessens over time, aiding English learners globally. Her house, once a shelter, became a hub of creativity, with Samuel's toolbox inspiring DIY projects symbolizing self-sufficiency. Historical ties strengthened, researching Rolex's Submariner lineage tied to oceanic explorations post-World War II, mirroring her dive into self-discovery. Modern applications abounded. In a hyper-connected era, disconnecting to reclaim time combats digital addiction. Universal message: don't let others pilfer your moments, invest them wisely for fulfillment. The story ends with Amelia, watch on wrist, embracing each day. What will you do today to ensure your time is truly your own, fostering a life of profound reflection and unapologetic growth?